It began on a Tuesday evening. There I was, sitting in the apartment of my mom and dad in Lakeview Terrace. I turned around and looked over and saw my dad sitting on the couch. He had bent down and tied his shoe. And I said to him, "Dad, where are you going?" And he said, "Do you remember Claire, my friend that comes to the Hawaiian picnics that we have?" And I said, "Yeah, I remember Claire. The one in the wheelchair, right?" "Yeah, well, she invited me to some Toastmaster meeting, something or another, so I thought, okay, I'll come and check it out and see what it is, support Claire." So I said these words, "Can I come too?" And he said, "Sure, why not?" So my dad, my mom, and I drove down from Lakeview Terrace to the Burbank Holiday Inn, sat there in a room similar to this. It's a restaurant setting, but the tables are set up just this way. And there we were. And when they called us as guests, we were introduced, and we were sitting next to Claire and her husband, Phil. Claire sits at the end of the table, so it accommodates her wheelchair. Now, the one thing Claire has in common with my dad is they're both Hawaiian. So they chit-chat, they talk special language, actually it's Pidgin. I'll explain to you on the break what that is. And they had a blast. Now, at the end of that meeting, you get up, you introduce yourself again, and you say how you enjoyed the meeting. And of course, my dad said his thing, my mom said hers, and I said mine. And I smiled when I said this. And I kept on coming back 8 times. When I finally made the decision, I want to be a member. Now, like most people, you join Toastmasters because you're afraid to speak in public. What you want to do is go stand in front of an audience such as this and put a paper bag over your head and start talking. That was not me. I do not put paper bags on my head. For 20 plus years, I had been speaking to this crowd, young children. I've been storytelling to them forever. I could have an audience between the ages of 1 and 5 years old and sit them down in a room like this and have their attention for 45 minutes straight. And nobody would be moving. They wouldn't be screaming. They'd be intrigued. Their eyes would widen as they would listen to me telling them stories that incorporates them. So I thought, it's about time that I make a change. I need to be telling stories to grown-ups. I've been doing it to kids for a long time. When it comes to talking to an audience of adults, I lack the know-how of how to talk to you guys. When I gave my icebreaker, sure, I was nervous because I figured I got to memorize this thing. I didn't know you don't have to memorize it, you could use notes. But I got up there in front of my home club, and there I stood giving my icebreaker without a hitch. I didn't even use notes because I knew it all. Why? Because when you're speaking and it comes from here, then it's very easy to talk to an audience of this many people or more without using notes. Because you're already prepared. Why? It's your life. It's moments in your life that you're just retelling to others. So I just imagined, as opposed to being afraid, I imagined there was little Richard Stewart, there was little Ruth, and I imagined they were children. And I felt at home, and I started giving my speech. The next thing you know, everything went well. Now, although I didn't win Best Speaker that evening, I did feel great. Now, this year, I will be celebrating my 5-year anniversary with Toastmasters, which is great. Now, when I first joined Toastmasters, I was so excited. I couldn't wait to get the manual in the mail. I was like, when's my stuff coming? Well, it finally came. And I opened it up, and I was looking through everything I got to do, and I was excited. Yay! I couldn't wait. I wanted to email our Vice President of Education as fast as I could to find out, what do I got to do to be the next speaker? How fast can I get through this manual? There's 10 speeches in that manual. I finished within 6 to 8 months the basic manual. But something intrigued me in the back. I flipped all the way to the back because I like to jump ahead of myself. And I looked and it said, DTM. I said, what's that? Now I noticed Claire had a tag on her at some of the meetings that said DTM. I said, I wonder how I get one of these gold badges that say DTM. Well, I looked at all the requirements because they had it in the back then. Now in Toastmasters, you have a track in the back. The communication track, Then you got the leadership track. It's like getting in your train, and you're going, and you're going. The first part of the ride is your basic manual, your competent communicator. The next part is advanced communicator, bronze, and so forth, on down. Now for your leadership side, it's the competent leader. Then you do on down, you'll see there are more steps down the track that leads you through the tunnel to the other side of the lake, distinguished Toastmaster, which Tammy just completed. Now, this made me tremble in fear. I felt like I was swimming with the sharks. I had fallen overboard, and I was surrounded by sharks in the middle of the ocean, but I couldn't move. What was I supposed to do? Well, rather than get scared, I mapped out my progress, and I said, oh, well, this seems easy. After 5 years, I got to take the next step. I felt like I was riding the train to distinguished Toastmaster, but my train wasn't going towards the tunnel. I was still stuck right here on the tracks. That's because of one thing I didn't figure on, that I'd be so deathly afraid. I'm not afraid to die, no. I'm not afraid to step in front of somebody else and take a bullet for them. I'm afraid to take the next step and become an area governor. Now, I can manage 12 kids a day, 5 days a week, that I did for 12 years. I can change their diapers. I can play games with them, do craft projects. I even feed them 4 meals, 5 days a week. Did it for 12 years. Now, that's good leadership skills. But how do you do that as an area governor? It dawned on me, what was I thinking? So I took the engine and the rest of the parts out of my train, and I stopped right here in my comfortable zone and did not continue to move. Well, now I said, you know what? I'm going to be like my mentor, Richard Stewart, and become a DTM, or like Tammy, who just finished hers. I have to reassemble the parts and continue to move forward and take the next step and become an area governor. As I promised that I would do when Joe becomes district governor in the new year, I'm taking the next step and I'm going to be area governor. Why? Because I joined a leadership club, and I know that I will go over time slightly, but the reason I joined a leadership club is because many of you here are area, division, or district governors. You're district officers. So I have great examples of leadership that I can look to for mentors if I need help. So why not rely on them as mentors of leadership that I can count on, to piggyback on, get ideas. And now I'm ready. When the new Toastmaster year hits on July 1st, I will become one of the next area governors and move my train forward as I not stay stuck on the tracks and continue towards my road to distinguished Toastmaster. Madam Toastmaster.